because you eventually have to go back further and further and further. You have to come up, and this is where philosophers came up with the idea of the first cause, because you have this problem of infinite regress. You know, what created, and then who created that, and who created that, and eventually there has to have been a first cause. Problem is, the first cause, this argument, this philosophical argument, assumes that time is eternal. And this is something that people thought for the longest time until Einstein came around, that, well, time is constant. You know, there's nothing, time never changes. It doesn't slow down, it doesn't speed up. Guess what? It does. So this is this is when things completely changed for me. And when I really learned about the Big Bang, I learned that the Big Bang wasn't just the beginning of the universe and matter, it was the beginning of time itself. That statement is a contradiction. Beginning of time. You can't really have the word beginning if time doesn't exist. So this is just kind of a clue to the kind of, I was going to say mind F word, but I don't want to say that right now. But this whole thing is. But now this is a really, really beautiful idea. It's also so strange that we are, as human beings, are incapable of imagining it. How can there be no such thing as time? How can time not exist? So everything that we say beginning, end, and we say that, you know, before, after, when, then, now, later, tomorrow, today. All of our language, everything, the way we describe the world around us is described on a temporal basis using terms that are completely dependent on the idea of time being constant, the one thing that we know works. They only work if time exists. So it's so inextricably ingrained into nature, the concept of time, that we cannot imagine our existence without it. But according to the Big Bang Theory, or the current version of it that is accepted, you know, that there's evidence for, there was a quote-unquote time when time itself didn't exist. That was at the point of the Big Bang. So when you ask what happened before the Big Bang, if time doesn't exist, before doesn't exist. There's no such thing as before. It's very weird, I know, but imagine, you know, the way that physicists describe this is they say that, you know, imagine you're standing at the North Pole. The North Pole is just a point at the top of the world. Imagine you're standing there, you're looking down, the North Pole, that point is between your feet, and I tell you to walk north. What are you going to tell me? Like, I'm here, that question, like, what you're saying doesn't make sense. You're telling me to walk north. I'm on the North Pole. How far? Anywhere I walk from here is going to be southward, right? So it's the same kind of thing. When time doesn't exist at the Big Bang, there's no such thing as before. The question itself doesn't make sense. So now there are other theories to this. This, again, the Big Bang Theory is just a theory, right? It's complex, it's really bizarre, but it's also very simple and very elegant at the same time. Now, is it true? That's a question. And, you know, the answer to this is that we don't know. But there is more evidence that supports this than evidence that supports, you know, let there be light and there was light, or any of the creationist claims. So if we didn't, for example, one of the reasons that we know this is wherever you have a higher level of gravitational force, like close to the surface of the Earth, time ticks slower. In space, where all the GPS satellites are, time ticks faster. So on Earth, we have to constantly correct for this time ticking difference in order to make our GPS systems work. If we didn't, our GPS systems would be off by 10 kilometers per day. And that would accumulate over time. It's about 300 kilometers a month. So people can say, well, God created the universe outside of time, and this, again, doesn't make sense because space and time, again, are interlinked. And I won't get into that a whole lot. Now, the point is, I did not know whether this is true, and nobody knows whether this is absolutely true. The evidence is still, it's there for it, but there are many other theories. There's the idea of the multiverse, there's the idea of the big crunch and an eternal kind of, you know, Big Bang, big crunch, and so on. There's many, the oscillating universe. But that's all beside the point. The point is that this was a possibility. And it was probably even, it might even been a probability. And that idea alone, that time can speed up and slow down, this is the point where I said, okay, I'm so inspired and so full of awe, and I want to know so much more about this, that I had to let religion go. I didn't think, I'm like, why was this creator of a universe that works this way? Why is he telling us how much our daughters should inherit compared to our sons? Why is he so concerned about punishing people, who oppose his authority? Why is he telling us who we should have sex with? Why does he care whether we eat pork or what we do to our foreskins? And this is the being that created nebulae, that created time-distorting black holes, that created hundreds of billions of stars and galaxies. Why is the religion, the Abrahamic religions, why are they so narrow and so human? So I'll conclude over here. To people who believe, this is what I would say, and this is as somebody who at one point believed. Even if you do believe that a God created the universe, right, why go to a Messiah who came centuries ago, or a book from thousands of years ago, to get closer to him? Years after I'm gone, if you want to get to know about me, what are you going to do? You're going to read the things that I wrote. You're going to talk to the people that knew me. Whatever I left behind, you're going to study what I left behind, and that's what's going to give you the best picture of me. So instead of going to books and messiahs, why not study the creation that is all around you? And the Quran itself says this: study the creation that is all around you. That, unfortunately, is what made me an atheist eventually. But there is a name for it. The study of the nature all around you, there's a name for it, and that name is science. That's what science is. Simply the study of nature. That's it. And the language of science is mathematics. It's not Hebrew or Aramaic or Arabic. It doesn't vary geographically depending on where you are. Mathematics is the same, whether you're in Israel, whether you're in the West Bank, whether you're on Mars. It all works the same way. It's universal. And this is the nature around you. That is, if you believe in God, that is God's language to describe nature, God's creation. And the study of that nature is called science. So, why would you want to rely on faith without evidence when the evidence is so much more breathtaking and so much more amazing? And that's where the beauty to me lies. If you could sum up all of this in one sentence, I would say, ask real questions. Don't try to rely on false answers. Questions are good. The kind of answers that give you more questions, and just living on questions and accepting the fact that we don't know, and sometimes we can't know, is, I think, the reason to stay alive. That's the purpose of life, when we talk about the purpose of life. That's it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ali. There is no words really to recognize Ali. When we first started the movement in 2012, 2013, there weren't many Muslims with these thoughts that have expressed themselves publicly. Ali was one of the first ones who does this publicly, and he pays a heavy price in terms of risk to his own self and his family that he carries around for the cause of defending really freedom of speech and freedom of conscience and rationalism and secularism. So thank you very much for that, Ali. There's, if it would be childish to offer you a plaque or something compared to the sacrifices that you do. And thank you for coming here. Muslimish cannot afford paying speakers like Ali, but he came here as a volunteer. So thank you very much. I would like the other panelists to please, speakers to join the panel, Dr. Majd Hamadi, Dr. Stockton. We have 7 minutes left to the program. Is there a second for extending it for 15 more minutes? It's second and moved. Is those in favor, please say